Have you ever stood outside on a clear, cold night, far from the city lights, and truly looked up? Have you ever felt that profound, almost dizzying sense of awe as you stared into the endless, silent, glittering expanse of the cosmos? In that moment, you feel a connection, a sense that you are part of something impossibly vast and ancient, a single note in a cosmic symphony. But then, inevitably, the moment passes. The cold air brings you back to your body. Your thoughts return to the ground, to the bills on the counter, the looming deadline at work, the unspoken tension in a relationship, the quiet, gnawing feeling that something is fundamentally stuck. You feel the immense, orderly perfection of the stars above, and then the tangled, chaotic imperfection of your own life below, and the gap between them feels like an uncrossable chasm. This feeling, this disconnect, is the quiet epidemic of our modern world. We live in an age of unprecedented information and technology, yet we feel more lost than ever. We hustle, we grind, we optimize our schedules and curate our digital lives, but we feel like we are running on a treadmill, fighting against an invisible current that leaves us exhausted and unfulfilled. Life can feel like a series of random, arbitrary events, a chaotic storm that we must simply endure. We sense there are rules to the game, but no one ever gave us the playbook. We search for answers in new habits, in fleeting trends, in the validation of others, but the feeling of being fundamentally out of sync with the world, and with ourselves, remains. What if the problem isn't that you aren't trying hard enough? What if the problem is that you are playing with the wrong set of rules? What if the answer wasn't hidden in the future, but whispered down to us from the most distant corridors of the past? Imagine a piece of wisdom so powerful, so fundamental, that it was revered by pharaohs, studied by alchemists in secret laboratories, and passed down through mystery schools for thousands of years. A teaching not carved into mountains of stone, but allegedly inscribed on a single, luminous tablet of emerald. This is the legend of the Emerald Tablet of Hermes Trismegistus, and within its cryptic lines lies a single, master key, a phrase of just 4 words that unlocks the operating system of reality itself. A phrase that promises that the chasm between the stars above and your life below is nothing but an illusion. That phrase is, as above, so below. This isn't just poetry, and it isn't a metaphor. It is a formula. It is the code that writes the program of your existence, and over the course of our journey together, right here, through the convenience of listening, you will learn how to read it, understand it, and use it to become the conscious architect of your own universe. To truly understand the power we are about to unlock, we must first journey back in time, not just centuries, but millennia. We must travel to a world shrouded in myth and sand, a time before the philosophies of Greece had taken root, before the legions of Rome had marched across the known world. We travel to the ancient, fertile land of Chem, the land of black soil we now call Egypt. It was here, under the watchful eyes of the pyramids and the eternal flow of the Nile, that the legend of our guide was born. His name was Hermes, and he was known as Trismegistus, a title meaning the thrice great. He was not merely a man, nor was he simply a god, but a figure who embodied the bridge between them. A master of masters, the scribe of the gods, a teacher so profound that his wisdom was said to be the foundational source from which all other philosophies would later spring. The name, Trismegistus, was not given lightly. It was said he was thrice great because he had mastered the 3 parts of the wisdom of the whole universe. The first part was alchemy, the operation of the sun, the mastery of the physical world and its transformations. The second was astrology, the operation of the moon and stars, the mastery of the celestial patterns that influence our world. And the third was theurgy, the operation of the gods, the mastery of the divine magic that connects the human soul to the universal consciousness. He held the keys to the world below, the world above, and the world within. In him, the pantheons of 2 great civilizations converged. To the Greeks, he was Hermes, the winged messenger of the gods, the bringer of knowledge and commerce. To the Egyptians, he was Thoth, the wise, ibis-headed deity who invented writing, who measured the earth, and who kept the sacred records of the universe. Hermes Trismegistus was the synthesis of these 2, a symbol of ultimate, integrated wisdom. Legends say that this immense knowledge was not simply spoken or written on perishable papyrus. It was condensed, distilled into its purest form, and inscribed upon a single tablet wrought from a living, breathing emerald. But where did this extraordinary object come from? Here, history dissolves into myth, and we are left with stories that are more like sacred dreams than historical accounts. One of the most enduring legends takes us deep beneath the sands of Giza, into a hidden chamber within the Great Pyramid. It was said that after the Great Flood had receded, initiates of the mystery schools found their way into the secret heart of the pyramid. There, they discovered the tomb of Hermes himself, his body perfectly preserved, and resting upon his chest was the emerald tablet, glowing with a soft, green, internal light, radiating a palpable energy of wisdom and power. It was as if the tablet was not an object, but a living being, a direct transmission from the mind of God. Another powerful legend ties the tablet's discovery to one of history's most ambitious figures, Alexander the Great. As Alexander carved his empire across the world, he was driven not just by a thirst for power, but a hunger for knowledge, a desire to find the source of all wisdom. His conquests led him to Egypt, where he heard the whispers of the hidden tomb of Hermes. The story tells that he, or one of his soldiers, entered the ancient sepulchre and retrieved the tablet, claiming its divine wisdom for the Western world. From that point on, the physical tablet vanishes from any verifiable record, becoming a ghost, a phantom artifact whose journey through history is traced not by its physical presence, but by the profound influence of its words. This influence is a thread of emerald light woven through the dark tapestry of history. The words of the tablet, translated and passed down through Arabic and Latin, became the cornerstone for the European alchemists. For them, the tablet was the ultimate recipe. But they were not fools trying to make literal gold from lead. They understood the metaphor. The great work of alchemy was a spiritual process. Lead was the symbol of the ignorant, fearful, ego-driven human soul, heavy and dull. Gold was the symbol of the enlightened soul, radiant, incorruptible, and unified with the divine. The emerald tablet was their guide on this treacherous inner journey of transformation. It was the cryptic map for turning the lead of the self into the gold of the spirit. Its wisdom fueled the secret societies that blossomed in its wake. Groups like the Rosicrucians and the Freemasons saw themselves as custodians of this hermetic knowledge, keeping its flame alive through ages of religious persecution and ignorance. They encoded its teachings in their symbols and rituals, understanding that this was a power meant only for those who were ready to receive it. Even the giants of the scientific revolution were touched by its light. Sir Isaac Newton, the father of modern physics, the man who gave us the laws of motion and universal gravitation, spent a significant portion of his life in deep study of alchemy. He personally translated the text of the Emerald Tablet, seeking to understand the spiritual laws of the universe with the same fervor that he applied to its physical laws. For him, there was no contradiction. He saw science and mysticism as two sides of the same coin, two languages attempting to describe the same, singular reality. So we are left with a question: is the tablet real? Did a man named Hermes Trismegistus truly exist? Did Alexander the Great hold a glowing green stone in his hands? The truth is, it does not matter. To fixate on the physical reality of the tablet is to miss the point entirely. It is like a man who is given a map to a boundless treasure, but instead of following the map, he spends his entire life studying the quality of the paper it is printed on. The legend of the Emerald Tablet is a parable in itself. The journey to find a physical artifact is a distraction. The real quest, the great work, is an internal one. The wisdom contained within the words of the tablet is the treasure. Its power is not proven by carbon dating a piece of stone, but by the transformation it ignites in the consciousness of anyone who dares to apply its principles. The tablet itself may be lost to time, a myth, a dream, but the map it provides is eternal. It is a map that leads not to a buried chest in a desert, but to the infinite kingdom within your own soul. The legend of its origin, the mystery of its journey, all of it serves to prepare the mind for the gravity of the wisdom it contains. It is the vessel, the sacred container for the knowledge that can set us free. Now, Having paid our respects to the legend of the messenger, it is time to turn to the heart of the message itself, to the first and most powerful key on this cosmic map. We now stand at the threshold of the temple, leaving the legends and the history behind us. We hold in our hands the master key, the 4 words that Hermetic philosophy claims are the source code of reality. As above, so below. Do not mistake these words for a simple poetic phrase or a vague spiritual platitude. This is the central axiom, the foundational principle upon which the entire architecture of the universe is built. It is a statement of such profound and practical significance that once you truly grasp its meaning, the world will never look the same again. It is a lens that, once you look through it, brings the chaotic, seemingly random events of your life into sharp, undeniable focus. It is the secret of correspondence, the law of analogy, and the promise of ultimate power. Let us first break it down. What is the above? In the grandest sense, the above is the macrocosm. It is the totality of the cosmos, the silent, majestic dance of galaxies and nebulae. It is the birth and death of stars, the unseen laws of physics that hold planets in their orbits, and the invisible planes of energy and archetypal thought that exist beyond our limited senses. The above is the great blueprint, the divine pattern, the mind of God, if you will. And what, then, is the below? It is the microcosm. It is our world, our earth, our societies, our very bodies. It is the universe within your own skin, the circulation of your blood mirroring the flow of rivers, the intricate network of your neurons firing like a constellation of stars. The below is the world you perceive through your 5 senses, your day-to-day life, your health, your finances, your relationships. The revolutionary claim of the Emerald Tablet is that there is no fundamental difference or separation between these 2 realms. They are inextricably linked. They are reflections of one another, locked in an eternal, mirrored dance. The same laws, patterns, and principles that govern the grandest celestial bodies also govern the smallest details of your personal existence. Think of the principle of cycles. Above, we see the moon wax and wane. We see the seasons turn from the death of winter to the rebirth of spring. We see stars go through cycles of birth, life, and death. And so, below, we find these same cycles everywhere. We see them in the rise and fall of empires, in the boom and bust of economic markets, and in the rhythms of our own lives, our own energy, our own moods, our own periods of outward growth and inward reflection. They are the same law, operating on different scales. When you understand this, you cease to see your life as a series of isolated incidents. You begin to recognize the universal patterns at play, and you can learn to align yourself with them, just as a sailor aligns their ship with the tides and the winds. But the principle goes deeper, to a level that is far more personal and infinitely more powerful. The second great meaning of as above, so below is that your external world, the below, is a direct and unfailing reflection of your internal world, the above. In this context, the above is your consciousness. It is the sum total of your thoughts, your dominant beliefs, your secret fears, your deepest convictions, and your emotional and vibrational state. And the below is the tangible reality that you experience. The people you meet, the health of your body, the number in your bank account, the opportunities that appear or fail to appear. All of it is a mirror. The universe is not happening to you, it is responding to you. It is reflecting your inner state back to you with perfect, impartial accuracy. This is a truth that can be difficult to accept because it bestows upon us a radical level of responsibility. It is much easier to blame the traffic, the government, our boss, our parents, or bad luck for our misfortunes. But the Hermetic wisdom tells us that these are just actors on a stage that we ourselves have set. If your inner world, the above, is dominated by thoughts of scarcity, anxiety, and unworthiness, then your outer world, the below, will dutifully manifest as a reality of missed opportunities, financial struggles, and relationships that reinforce that feeling of being unworthy. If, however, you can cultivate your inner world, your above, to be a garden of gratitude, abundance, and self-worth, then the mirror of reality has no choice but to reflect a world of blossoming opportunities, flowing prosperity, and loving, supportive connections. You cannot change the reflection by shouting at the mirror. You cannot wipe the mirror or break it in frustration. To change the reflection, you must change the object being reflected. You must change yourself. This leads to a profound question. How is this possible? How can the universe, in all its vastness, be a mirror to my small, individual consciousness? The answer lies in another powerful analogy: the hologram. If you take a piece of holographic film that contains the image of, say, an apple, and you shine a laser through it, you will see the three-dimensional image of the apple. But here is the magic. If you shatter that holographic plate into 100 tiny pieces, and you take just one of those tiny, seemingly insignificant shards, and shine the laser through it, you will not see just a fraction of the apple. You will see the entire apple. The whole image is contained within every single part. This is the nature of our reality. You are that tiny shard of the cosmic hologram. You are not a meaningless speck in an uncaring universe. You are a microcosm that contains the entire macrocosm. The complete blueprint of the cosmos, all its laws, all its potential, all its wisdom, is encoded within your very being. You are not just in the universe is in you. Nature demonstrates this principle of self-similarity everywhere. We see it in the fractal patterns of a snowflake, where each intricate arm is a smaller version of the whole. We see it in a fern, where each frond is a perfect miniature of the entire plant. As above, so below. The pattern of the whole is replicated in the pattern of the part. This is how the universe knows your thoughts. It is not spying on you from some distant location. It knows your thoughts because you are a part of it, and your consciousness is a localized expression of the entire cosmic field. Grasping this one principle shatters the illusion of victimhood forever. It is the ultimate key to empowerment. It means that to change your health, you must first address the inner state of your mind and emotions. To change your wealth, you must first transform your beliefs about abundance and worthiness. To change your relationships, you must first heal your relationship with yourself. The power to transform your reality is not out there to be found, earned, or won. It has been inside you all along. The journey is not one of acquisition, but of realization. You hold the controls. The world you see is the printout, but your consciousness is the program. So if, as above, so below, is the fundamental rule of correspondence. If reality is a grand reflection, it begs the next, most important question of all. If the universe is a reflection, what is the original image? If the world is a projection, where is the projector? The Hermetic Masters gave a clear and staggering answer to this question, an answer that serves as the very first and most important of the 7 Hermetic principles. It is the source from which all the others flow. The source of all things, they declared, is mind. We have established the foundational law of reality, the master key that is, as above, so below. We've seen how the universe acts as a perfect mirror, reflecting the grand patterns of the cosmos into the small details of our lives, and even more profoundly, reflecting the inner state of our consciousness into the outer world we experience. But this begs the most fundamental question of all. If the world is a reflection, what is the original image? If the universe is a projection, where is the projector, and what is its nature? If our reality is a song, who is the singer? The ancient Hermetic teachings provide an answer that is so simple, yet so staggering in its implications, that it has the power to shatter the very foundations of a materialistic worldview. The answer is the first of the 7 Hermetic principles, the bedrock upon which all others are built. The principle is this: the all is mind, the universe is mental. Let this statement sink in for a moment. It is not saying that the universe was created by a mind, in the way a watch is created by a watchmaker. It is saying that the universe is mind. There is nothing outside of it. Everything we see, touch, and experience, from the farthest star to the closest grain of sand, from the most complex emotion to the most basic physical law, is part of a single, infinite, living mind. This mind is referred to in the Hermetic texts as the All. This is not a personal God who sits on a throne and judges the world. The All is something far more vast and profound. It is the substantial reality, the underlying truth, the absolute source, from which all things spring forth and to which all things must return. It is the uncreated cause. It is living, intelligent, conscious, and infinite. You can think of it as the ocean, and all of creation, including ourselves, are merely waves forming and dissolving on its surface. The wave is not separate from the ocean. It is simply the ocean expressing itself in a temporary form. The all is the dreamer, and the entire universe is its intricate, evolving dream. To understand this, let us use the powerful parable of the artist. Imagine a master sculptor standing before a block of marble. Before she ever picks up a chisel, the masterpiece she intends to create must first exist within her mind. She must see it, feel it, understand its dimensions, its form, its texture, its soul. This mental creation is the true creation. The act of chipping away the marble is merely a physical process of bringing that perfect mental image into a lower vibration, material form. The thought is the cause, the statue is the effect. Now, expand this concept to an infinite scale. The all is the ultimate artist, the universal sculptor. But unlike a human artist, it has no external material to work with, for nothing exists outside of itself. So, how does it create? It creates within its own mind. The entire universe, in all its breathtaking complexity and order, is a mental creation, a grand thought held in the mind of the all. You might argue, but the world feels so solid, so real. How can it be just a thought? The Hermetic answer is that the thoughts of the all are not like our own fleeting, unstable human thoughts. The mental creations of the infinite mind are imbued with a degree of reality, power, and permanence that is almost incomprehensible to us. The universe is a divine mental projection, and its apparent solidity is sustained by the unwavering focus of the mind that conceives it. We are living, breathing, thinking, and feeling within a thought of the Absolute. This one principle completely changes our relationship with the world. We are no longer insignificant biological accidents on a random rock floating in a dead, empty void. We are living characters in the grand novel of a universal consciousness. We are not strangers in a strange land. We are at home, in the mind of our own ultimate source. Here is where this ancient philosophy becomes intensely practical and directly connects to the modern concept of the law of attraction. If the entire universe is mental, and you are a part of that universe, then your own mind is not an isolated, self-contained phenomenon. Your mind is a center of consciousness within the one universal mind. It is a wave on the ocean, a thought within the thought, and because you are of the same nature as your source, you are endowed with the same creative power, albeit on a finite scale. This is the metaphysical foundation for the statement, your thoughts create your reality. It is no longer just a nice self-help slogan. It becomes a fundamental law of your being. In a mental universe, a thought is not an ephemeral wisp of nothingness. A thought is a real force. It is a thing. It is a vibration on the mental plane. A cause that must, by the very laws of existence, generate an effect. This is why your inner world, your above, has such absolute power over your outer world, your below. Every belief you hold, every thought you consistently entertain, every feeling you allow to dominate your being, is a command sent out into the mental fabric of the universe. The universal mind, in its impartial nature, receives this mental transmission and reflects it back to you in the form of circumstances, events, and physical reality. You are a co-creator in your own life story. The universe provides the paper, the ink, and the laws of grammar, but you are writing the sentences with every thought you think. This elevates our existence from a passive experience to an active creation. Your identity itself is transformed. You are not just a human being who has a mind. In the context of the all, you are a mind. Your very consciousness is a thought form, a divine idea, being experienced by the source. This realization dissolves the illusion of separation and fills you with an incredible sense of purpose and power. We have now seen the foundation. As above, so below, is the law of reflection. The principle of mentalism is the revelation of what is being reflected and what is doing the reflecting. It all happens within mind. But this still leaves a crucial question unanswered. We see the law, we see the medium. But what is the mechanism? How do the patterns in the divine mind translate so perfectly into the patterns of nature? How do the thoughts in our own minds translate so reliably into the conditions of our lives? What principle governs this perfect mirroring between the planes of existence? The answer is the second great Hermetic law, a principle that is a direct and necessary consequence of the first, a principle that explains the how behind the magic. It is the principle of correspondence. We stand now with two pillars of immense wisdom. The first, that the universe is a mental creation, held in the mind of the all. The second, the law of, as above, so below, which tells us that our reality is a perfect reflection of a higher pattern, and our outer world is a mirror of our inner world. This naturally leads us to wonder about the mechanism. How does the thought of a galaxy in the divine mind translate into the swirling spiral of stars we see through our telescopes? How does the persistent thought of anxiety in our own mind translate into the tangible reality of a racing heart and a life filled with stressful situations? The bridge that connects these worlds, the law that governs the perfect harmony between the planes, is the second Hermetic principle, the principle of correspondence. This principle is the master architect of the cosmos. It is the direct extension and explanation of, as above, so below, as below, so above. It states that there is always a harmony, an agreement, and a correspondence between the laws and phenomena of the various planes of being and life. It means the universe doesn't use a different set of blueprints for its large-scale projects and its small-scale ones. It uses the same divine geometry, the same sacred patterns, over and over again. From the infinitely large to the infinitesimally small. To know one is to gain insight into the other. And as we look at our world through this lens, we suddenly see these correspondences everywhere, hiding in plain sight. Let us begin with the cosmos. For centuries, the esoteric schools taught that the human being was a microcosm, a miniature universe. They looked at the pattern of a central point of light and heat, the sun, with planets orbiting it in a predictable, lawful dance. Then they looked within, to the new science of their day, and saw the pattern of the atom, a central nucleus of energy, with electrons orbiting it. While the forces are different, the pattern, the correspondence, is undeniable. A solar system is like a giant atom. An atom is like a tiny solar system. As above, so below. More recently, astrophysicists have created vast computer simulations to map the large-scale structure of the universe. The result is the cosmic web, a breathtakingly beautiful network of galactic filaments and clusters separated by massive voids. At the same time, neurologists have mapped the neural network of the human brain. When you place these two images side by side, the pattern of the cosmos and the pattern of the mind that is observing it, the resemblance is astonishing. The same pattern of connection, of communication, of networked intelligence repeats. As in the mind, so in the stars. This principle of shared patterns is written into the very fabric of nature. Consider the simple, elegant spiral. We see its majestic form in the arms of the Milky Way galaxy, a structure trillions of miles across. We see that same spiral in the powerful vortex of a hurricane. We see it in the delicate, chambered shell of a nautilus growing in the deep ocean. And we see it in the double helix of our own DNA, the very code of life, coiled within the nucleus of every cell in our bodies. The same signature of growth, energy, and evolution, appearing on every plane of existence. The universe has a distinct handwriting, and it uses it to sign all of its creations. This harmony is not just physical. It is the very key to understanding our own complex nature. Hermetic philosophy teaches that we exist simultaneously on three great planes: the physical plane, the mental plane, and the spiritual plane. The principle of correspondence tells us that these are not stacked on top of each other like separate floors in a building. They are interwoven dimensions of one reality, and what happens on one plane creates a corresponding effect on the others. For example, a persistent state of fear or resentment on the mental plane, your inner above, will, through the law of correspondence, inevitably create disharmony on the physical plane, your inner below, manifesting as illness, fatigue, or chronic pain. Conversely, a moment of profound spiritual connection, a feeling of grace or unconditional love on the spiritual plane, can cascade downwards, instantly reframing your thoughts on the mental plane and triggering remarkable healing on the physical plane. Understanding this gives us an incredible power, the ability to reason about the unknown by studying the known. There is an old parable of several blind men encountering an elephant for the first time. One touches the leg and declares an elephant is like a tree trunk. Another touches the tail and says it's like a rope. A third touches the tusk and claims it's like a spear. They are all experiencing a piece of the truth, but they are all wrong about the whole. A student of Hermeticism, however, would approach it differently. Understanding correspondence, they would know that nature is harmonious. If they felt the leg, they would reason that such a sturdy pillar must support a large and heavy body. If they felt the tusk, they would infer it must belong to a powerful creature. By understanding that the part must correspond to the nature of the whole, they could use reason and analogy to build a far more accurate picture of the elephant. This is how we can understand the nature of God, or the All, which is unknowable in its entirety. By studying ourselves, the microcosm, we can understand the principles that govern the macrocosm. This universal truth, this repetition of patterns on every scale, is now understood mathematically through the concept of fractals. Think of a coastline on a map. From a great height, it is a smooth curve. As you zoom in, it becomes jagged and complex. As you zoom in further, to the level of individual rocks and grains of sand, you see the same patterns of jaggedness repeating. The famous Mandelbrot set, a mathematical object of infinite complexity, is generated from one shockingly simple formula. As you zoom into its edges, you discover ever new, intricate worlds, and they all contain perfect echoes of the original shape. Our universe is a grand fractal. It is infinitely complex, yet governed by a few elegant, fundamental principles that repeat on every level. As above, so below is the simple formula that generates the infinite, beautiful complexity of reality. We have now seen the mental nature of the universe and the corresponding structure that holds it together. But a blueprint, no matter how perfect, is static. A map, no matter how detailed, is lifeless. What is it that animates this grand, fractal architecture? What is the energy that flows through the cosmic web and the neural network? What is the force that drives the spiral of the galaxy and the coiling of our DNA? What is the one thing common to all of existence, from the densest rock to the highest spirit, that distinguishes it from nothingness? The answer is the engine of the universe, the pulse of all life. The ancient masters called it by a simple and profound name, vibration. We have uncovered the profound truth that the universe is a mental creation, and that its structure is governed by the flawless harmony of correspondence. We see the blueprint, we see the architecture, but a blueprint is silent and an architecture is still. What is the force that breathes life into the design? What is the energy that animates the great cosmic dance? The answer is the pulse of existence itself, the universal engine that ensures nothing is ever truly still. This is the third Hermetic principle, and it is a truth confirmed by every observation of modern science. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. Look around you. You may see objects that appear solid, motionless, and inert. A steel table, a block of granite, the floor beneath your feet. But this stillness is a grand illusion, a trick played upon our limited human senses. If you could zoom in with a microscope of impossible power, you would see that the steel and the stone are a raging tempest of activity. You would see molecules in a state of constant motion, composed of atoms that are themselves miniature solar systems of spinning, vibrating particles, which in turn are composed of subatomic quarks and leptons in a ceaseless, frantic dance. Everything, from the largest galaxy hurtling through space to the smallest particle of dust, is in a state of perpetual vibration. There is no such thing as rest in the entire cosmos. There is only a spectrum of motion, from the incredibly slow to the impossibly fast. To grasp this, imagine an infinite piano keyboard. At the lowest end are notes of such a slow, dense frequency that they are barely moving at all. This is the vibration of dense matter, of rock and lead. As you move up the keyboard, the frequency increases. The notes become higher, the vibrations faster. You move through the frequencies of soil, water, and air. You move into the vibrations of electricity, magnetism, and heat. Higher still, you enter the spectrum of sound, and then the vast spectrum of light, from the low frequencies of radio waves to the high frequencies of gamma rays. But the keyboard does not end there. Above the known physical spectrum lie the even faster vibrations of thought. And above thought, the impossibly high frequencies of pure spirit, of the all. A vibration so rapid and infinite that it appears to be at rest, just as a rapidly spinning wheel can appear motionless. From this perspective, the difference between a rock and a thought, between a planet and a prayer, is not a difference in substance. It is merely a difference in vibration. Modern science has unwittingly become the greatest validator of this ancient principle. The field of cymatics offers a stunning visual proof. When you place sand on a metal plate and subject it to a pure sonic frequency, the seemingly chaotic grains of sand instantly arrange themselves into beautiful, intricate, geometric patterns. When you change the frequency, the pattern instantly dissolves and reforms into a new, equally complex design. This demonstrates a profound truth. Vibration creates form. It is the creative force that organizes matter out of the quantum foam. Likewise, our senses are incredibly limited instruments. Our ears can only detect a narrow range of sound frequencies, and our eyes can only perceive a tiny sliver of the electromagnetic spectrum we call visible light. We are effectively blind and deaf to almost the entire universe of vibrations around us. Yet, just because we cannot perceive them does not mean they do not exist, or that they do not affect us. And this brings the principle directly home, into the core of your being. You are not a solid, static entity. You are a vibrational being. More accurately, you are a complex symphony of countless vibrations. Your body, your organs, your cells, all hum at their own specific frequencies. And most importantly, your thoughts and emotions are vibrations that you broadcast out into the universe, 24 hours a day. When people talk about good vibes or bad vibes, they are speaking a deep hermetic truth. Every emotion has a signature frequency. At the very bottom of the scale are the dense, slow, heavy vibrations of shame, guilt, apathy, and fear. They feel heavy because they are heavy. They drain your life force. As you move up the scale, you find the vibrations of anger, then pride, then courage. Higher still is reason and acceptance, and at the very top of the human emotional scale, you find the fastest, lightest, most powerful frequencies: joy, peace, unconditional love, and gratitude. This understanding reveals the law of attraction for what it truly is. It is not magic, it is physics. It is the law of vibrational resonance. To understand this, imagine two guitars, perfectly tuned, placed on opposite sides of a room. If you walk up to one guitar and pluck the thick E string, a fascinating phenomenon occurs. If you listen closely, you will hear a low hum coming from the other guitar across the room. Its E string has started to vibrate in sympathy, all by itself. It does not respond when you pluck the G string or the B string. It resonates only with the frequency that matches its own. You are one of those guitars. The universe is the other. Your dominant emotional state, your mood, your attitude, your core belief system, the note you are constantly playing, the string you are constantly plucking. The universe, being a great and impartial resonator, must, by law, bring into your experience people, conditions, and circumstances that vibrate in harmony with your own signal. You cannot hold the dense vibration of "I am not worthy" and expect to resonate with the high frequency of joyful abundance. It is a physical impossibility, just as plucking the G string cannot make the E string sing. To change your reality, the below, you must first change your vibration. The above, you must learn to tune the instrument of your own being. You must consciously choose to play the note of the reality you wish to experience, even before you see it. You must learn to generate the feeling of gratitude before the blessing arrives, to feel the vibration of love before your ideal partner appears. This is how you become a conscious creator. You are aligning your personal vibration with the universal vibration of your desire. This reveals a clear path forward. To improve our lives, we must learn to raise our vibration. We must learn to move up the emotional scale from a state of fear to a state of courage, from anger to peace, from lack to abundance. But how? These states feel like complete opposites, separated by a vast gulf. How can one possibly transform hate into love or fear into courage? The Hermetic masters taught that this transformation is not only possible, it is simple once you understand the next great secret of the universe. They taught that these so-called opposites are not different things at all. They are merely 2 degrees of the same thing, 2 ends of the same pole. Understanding this illusion of duality is the secret to mental alchemy and the key to mastering your own vibration. This key is the 4th Hermetic principle, the principle of polarity. We have arrived at a profound realization. The universe is nothing but vibration, and to change our lives, we must learn to change our personal vibration, tuning ourselves to the frequency of the reality we wish to experience. We must learn to move up the scale from the slow, heavy emotions like fear and despair to the fast, light emotions like joy and love. But a formidable obstacle immediately appears. These states feel like complete and irreconcilable opposites. They feel like 2 different countries separated by a war-torn border. How can one possibly transform the bitter cold of hate into the warmth of love? How can the paralysis of fear be transmuted into the dynamic energy of courage? The answer lies in one of the most subtle, powerful, and liberating secrets of Hermetic wisdom, the 4th principle that resolves all paradoxes, the principle of polarity. The principle states this: everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet. All truths are but half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. This is not just philosophical poetry. It is a precise description of the fabric of our mental universe. It means that the things we perceive as opposites are, in reality, simply 2 poles of the very same thing. Let's make this concrete with a simple physical example. Hot and cold. We speak of them as if they are 2 distinct phenomena, but are they? Where, on a thermometer, is the exact point where cold ends and hot begins? Such a line does not exist. Hot and cold are merely different degrees of a single entity we call temperature. The only difference between them is their rate of vibration. The same is true of light and darkness. Darkness is not a force in itself. It is simply the absence of light. They are the 2 poles of the single phenomenon of illumination. Now, let us apply this revolutionary insight to the world within. To the mental plane. Consider fear and courage. We see a soldier frozen in fear and another charging forward with courage, and they seem to be experiencing entirely different worlds. But the Hermetic teaching insists they are not. They are both experiencing different degrees on the single spectrum of response to challenge. At the lowest pole, the vibration is so low it manifests as paralysis, or what we call fear. As the vibration is raised, it becomes caution, then determination, and at the highest pole, it becomes what we call heroic courage. They are not different things, they are different degrees of the same thing. This is the secret, and it applies to the most potent pair of all: love and hate. The true opposite of love is not hate. The true opposite of love is indifference, the 0 point on the scale where no emotional energy is present. Love and hate are both states of intense focus, powerful connection, and deep emotional investment. They are the north and south poles of the same magnetic energy of attachment. This is why our deepest loves can curdle into our most bitter hatreds. The immense energy is already there, only its polarity has been reversed. Understanding this principle is like being handed the key to a secret laboratory within your own mind. It unlocks the power of mental transmutation, the art of mental alchemy. It means that to change an undesirable mental state, you do not have to destroy it or fight it. In fact, fighting a negative emotion only gives it more energy and focus. The alchemist knows a better way. Instead of fighting the darkness, you simply turn up the light. Instead of trying to kill your fear, you focus on sliding up the scale towards the pole of courage. You do not annihilate the negative, you transmute it by concentrating on its positive pole. Imagine you have a deep-seated fear of public speaking. The old way is to try and suppress the fear, to fight the nervous energy, to tell yourself, don't be scared, which of course only makes you more scared. The way of the mental alchemist is different. You would first recognize the energy for what it is, a powerful focus on the upcoming event. You would then consciously and deliberately begin to shift your attention, your polarity along that same axis of energy. You would pull your focus away from the pole of, what if I fail? What if they judge me? And place it firmly on the pole of, what if I connect with them? What if I share something valuable? What if I enjoy the experience? You are using the very same energy, the same intense focus, but you are changing its polarity. You are raising its vibration from fear to a form of courage. This is the art of self-mastery. It is not about a war within, but a conscious, deliberate change in polarization. This principle also explains the cryptic statement that all truths are but half-truths. Any statement about our dualistic world is only ever partially true, because its opposite also contains a measure of truth. Is humanity fundamentally good or evil? The principle of polarity tells us this is the wrong question. Humanity is on a spectrum between the two poles. Both good and evil are potentials that exist within us, different degrees of the same human nature. This understanding dissolves rigid, black and white thinking, and cultivates wisdom. It allows you to find the truth in opposing viewpoints, to see the world not as a battlefield of right versus wrong, but as a dynamic interplay of polarities. So, we now possess an incredible power. We understand that we can change our reality by changing our vibration, and we can change our vibration by consciously shifting our polarity from negative to positive. But a new question immediately arises, one born from our own life experience. Why can't we just find the positive pole and stay there forever? Why does joy so often give way to sadness? Why does a period of success seem to be inevitably followed by a challenge or a setback? Why does our energy ebb and flow? It feels as though there is a great pendulum swinging through the universe, and we are carried along with it. The very existence of a North Pole necessitates the existence of a South Pole. You cannot pick up one end of a stick without, at the same time, picking up the other. The swing between these two poles is not a cosmic mistake or a punishment. It is an absolute, unavoidable law. This immutable law of the cosmic swing, the measured beat that governs all of existence, has a name. It is the fifth Hermetic principle, the principle of rhythm. We have pulled back the curtain on a profound secret, the illusion of opposites. We now understand that fear and courage, love and hate, joy and sadness are not separate forces at war, but are merely two poles of the same thing, differing only in their degree of vibration. With the art of mental transmutation, we have been given the power to consciously shift our state from a negative pole to a positive one. But even as we grasp this newfound power, our own life experience confronts us with a difficult truth. No state seems to last forever. A period of intense joy is often followed by a creeping melancholy. A windfall of success can be followed by an unexpected setback. A season of vibrant health can give way to a period of fatigue. It feels as if a great, cosmic pendulum is swinging through our lives, carrying us from one extreme to the other, whether we like it or not. This feeling is not an illusion. It is an observation of another of the universe's immutable laws. This is the fifth Hermetic principle, the principle of rhythm. It states, everything flows out and in, everything has its tides, all things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. This law is as real and as unavoidable as gravity. Once you are aware of it, you see it operating everywhere. In nature, the great ocean tide swells and floods the shore, only to inevitably recede back into the depths. The sun rises to its zenith at midday, only to begin its descent into the darkness of night. The seasons flow in their eternal cycle. The death of winter makes way for the birth of spring, which swells into the fullness of summer, only to begin its decline in autumn. This same rhythmic pulse beats in the heart of human affairs. Empires rise to glorious heights, only to crumble and fall into dust. Economies experience periods of incredible boom, which are always followed by the corrective swing of a bust. In our own lives, this pendulum is a constant companion. Our moods swing, our energy levels ebb and flow. Our creative inspiration comes in powerful waves and then recedes, leaving a fallow period in its wake. The unconscious person, unaware of this principle, lives their life like a cork tossed on the waves. When the pendulum of life swings them to the positive pole of health, wealth, and happiness, they are ecstatic. They cling to this state, believing it will last forever. But the law is absolute. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. A period of intense elation creates the potential for an equally intense swing back towards a lower state. When this happens, the person is plunged into despair, feeling like a victim of cruel fate, completely at the mercy of the pendulum's relentless motion. But the master, the student of Hermetic wisdom, learns a different way. The master knows you cannot stop the ocean. To try and command the tides to be still is madness. The wise person does not attempt to stop the pendulum of rhythm. Instead, they learn to escape its effects. They learn to surf the waves of life, rather than be crushed by them. A master surfer does not fight the wave. They study its rhythm, feel its power, and align themselves with it to be carried forward. The Hermeticist learns to do this with the rhythms of consciousness through two primary techniques: neutralization and polarization. The first, the law of neutralization, is the art of mental equanimity. The master learns to stand firm, inwardly, as the pendulum swings. When they feel the pull towards a negative state, low mood, a surge of pessimism, a wave of bad luck, they do not allow themselves to be swept away. They acknowledge the swing, saying to themselves, the tide is now going out. But they refuse to let their core identity, their true I, be dragged out with it. They achieve a state of inner poise, allowing the negative swing to pass them by without taking hold of their consciousness. This is not about suppressing or denying the feeling. It is about refusing to emotionally identify with it. It is the practice of non-attachment, the calm knowledge that this, too, shall pass. It is a mental discipline that prevents the negative swing from gaining power and momentum. The second and more advanced technique is the law of polarization. This is the true mark of the master. Neutralization is like standing on a cliff and letting the waves crash below you. Polarization is like getting into an airplane and flying above the storm altogether. The master learns to raise their consciousness to a higher plane, effectively rising above the swing of the ordinary pendulum. They do this by polarizing themselves at the pole of their higher self, their eternal I am presence, rather than the poles of their fleeting emotions. They cultivate a state of unshakable inner joy, a peace that is not dependent on external circumstances. The storms of life may rage on the lower planes. The pendulum of finance and mood may continue its swing below. But they are no longer on that pendulum. They have established a new center of gravity on a higher level of consciousness, a place the lower, rhythmic swings cannot reach. They have mastered the wave by learning to fly. We now see that the ups and downs of life are not a cosmic punishment, but a fundamental, rhythmic law. And we have been given the tools to navigate this law, to find stability in the midst of its constant motion. But this raises a final, crucial question about this rhythmic swing. Is it random? Is the pendulum swinging wildly, without purpose or reason? When you look at a grandfather clock, you see the pendulum swinging back and forth with perfect rhythm. You know this motion is not an accident. It is the effect of a mechanism hidden within the clock, a series of gears and weights that are the cause of the motion. The Hermetic teachings declare that the same is true for the universe. The rhythmic swing of life is not chaos. It is a compensation, an effect. Every tide, every swing of mood, every rise and fall is the result of a cause that was previously set in motion. To understand the relationship between the cause and its rhythmic effect is to move from being a passenger on the ship of life to being the one who helps chart its course. This brings us to the sixth and perhaps most well-known Hermetic principle, the principle of cause and effect. We have navigated the great pendulum of rhythm, learning not to be its victim, but its master. We understand that life moves in tides, in cycles of ebb and flow. But we were left with a crucial question. Is this rhythmic swing merely a chaotic, random dance? The Hermetic teachings answer with an unequivocal no. The swing of the pendulum is a perfectly lawful effect, governed by a principle that eliminates the very concept of chance from the universe. This is the sixth Hermetic principle, a law so fundamental that it underpins all science, all philosophy, and every single moment of your life. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for a law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. Let this sink in. There are no accidents. There is no such thing as luck, fortune, or coincidence. These are simply words used by the uninformed to describe a chain of cause and effect so complex that they cannot see its origin. A person rolls a pair of dice and gets the winning number. They call it a lucky roll. But a physicist would tell you the outcome was inevitable, determined by a precise chain of causes. The initial position of the dice in the hand, the muscular force applied, the angle of release, the spin, the air resistance, the friction of the surface they land on. The result was not chance, it was a lawful effect. We call it chance only because we are ignorant of the causes. The same is true for every event in our lives. A chance encounter, an unexpected opportunity, an unforeseen crisis all are the lawful results of causes that have been set in motion, often on planes beyond our immediate perception. To understand this fully, we must grasp the idea of the different planes of causation. The vast majority of humanity lives their lives as effects. They are like pawns on a grand chessboard. Their moods are the effect of the weather. Their opinions are the effect of the news they consume. Their actions are the effect of their childhood conditioning and their genetic predispositions. Their financial status is the effect of the economy. They are constantly reacting to the world around them, moved by the will of others, by societal trends, and by forces they do not understand. They feel like victims of circumstance because, from their perspective on the board, they are. They live on the plane of effect, and their experience of life is one of powerlessness. Above this majority are the players. These are the individuals who have, to some degree, mastered the law on their own plane. They understand that action leads to results. They set goals, they make plans, they exert their willpower, and they become causes within their own sphere of influence. These are the successful entrepreneurs, the determined athletes, the leaders and innovators. They are the rooks, knights, and bishops on the chessboard, moving with purpose and creating effects that shape their environment. They have a degree of power and control, and they often look down upon the pawns as being lazy or weak, not fully realizing that they, too, are still subject to the larger rules of the game and the higher planes of causation. The true master, the Hermetic student, aspires to rise to an even higher plane. They seek to become not just a cause, but a causer. They learn to operate from the higher mental and spiritual planes, initiating causes that then cascade down and become the ruling forces on the lower planes. A master does not simply play the game better, they learn to change the very rules of the game. A single, powerful idea, born on the mental plane, can become a cause that shapes the destiny of millions on the physical plane. Think of the ideas of liberty, of equality, of nonviolence. These were causes initiated on a higher plane that have profoundly altered the physical world. The goal of the student is to stop being a pawn moved by others and to learn how to initiate causes from the high ground of their own conscious mind, thereby becoming a master of their own fate. This principle places the full weight of responsibility for your life squarely on your own shoulders. It is a sobering, yet incredibly empowering truth. To make this practical, consider the parable of the two farmers. Both are given an identical plot of land, representing the potential of their lives. The first farmer, living as an effect, simply waits. He complains about the lack of rain, he curses the weeds that grow, he hopes for a lucky season, and he envies the harvests of his neighbors. His life, like his field, is the effect of external conditions, and it produces nothing of value. The second farmer decides to become a cause. He understands that the harvest is his responsibility. He carefully prepares the soil. He meticulously chooses the seeds of the crops he wishes to grow. These are his desired effects. Then, with deliberate action, he plants those seeds. She creates the cause. He waters, he fertilizes, he removes the weeds. And in time, according to the inviolable law, he reaps a bountiful harvest. His success is not luck, it is the lawful effect of the causes he consciously set in motion. So you must ask yourself, which farmer am I? Have I been waiting for life to happen to me, complaining about the weeds and praying for rain? Or have I been consciously, deliberately planting the seeds of the life I desire? Every thought you think is a seed. Every word you speak is a seed. Every action you take, or fail to take, is a seed. Your current life, right now, is the harvest grown from the seeds you have planted in the past, whether you did so consciously or not. If you wish for a different harvest, you must begin planting different seeds. Today, we now hold the reins. We are no longer victims of a random universe. We understand that to get a desired effect, we must create the necessary cause. We are the farmer, standing before our field, ready to sow. But creation is not a solitary act. The farmer cannot simply throw a seed onto dry, barren concrete and expect it to grow. The seed, the active cause, requires a receptive medium. It needs fertile soil. It needs water. It needs a nurturing environment in which to gestate, take root, and manifest. The very process of creation itself, from the birth of a new galaxy to the launch of a new business, requires the dynamic interplay of two fundamental energies: an active, projective force and a receptive, nurturing one. Understanding this universal, creative dance is the final key to becoming a true master of manifestation. This is the seventh and final Hermetic principle, the principle of gender. We have journeyed far. We have seen that the pendulum of rhythm is governed by the unerring law of cause and effect. We have taken the reins of our reality, understanding that to create the life we desire, we must become the conscious cause, the farmer who plants the seeds of intention. But as any farmer knows, the seed alone is not enough. A seed, no matter how perfect, cannot grow if cast upon barren rock. For creation to occur, the active energy of the seed must find a receptive medium in which to gestate and grow. This universal truth, this sacred dance of creation, is explained by the seventh and final Hermetic principle, a principle whose name requires careful understanding, the principle of gender. Let us be perfectly clear from the outset. This principle has absolutely nothing to do with the physical sex of a human being, nor the social roles or identities that we associate with the words masculine and feminine in our modern world. The ancient Hermetic masters were not talking about men and women. They were talking about two fundamental, universal principles of energy that exist on all planes of reality, from the creation of galaxies to the formation of a single thought. To understand it better, you can think of the Chinese concepts of yang and yin, or the positive and negative poles of a battery. It is a universal law of energetic duality that makes creation possible. The first of these is the masculine principle. This is the yang energy. It is projective, active, and assertive. It is the energy that initiates, that gives, that impresses itself upon the world. It is the will. It is the spark of desire, the focused intention, the initial thrust of creation. Think of it as the ray of sunlight that penetrates the darkness, or the lightning bolt that strikes the earth. On the mental plane, the masculine principle is your conscious mind, your focused attention, your ability to make a decision and say, I will. It is the sower who holds the seed, possessing the plan and the will to plant it. Without this principle, there is only dormant potential, a world of unacted upon dreams. The second is the feminine principle. This is the yin energy. It is receptive, passive, and nurturing. It is the energy that receives the initial spark, incubates it, and develops it into a finished form. It is the great cosmic womb, the subconscious mind, the fertile field in which all seeds must be planted if they are to grow. Think of it as the dark, rich earth that receives the seed and nourishes it into life, or the quiet, still lake that perfectly reflects the image of the sky. It is the blank canvas that receives the painter's vision and gives it a home. On the mental plane, the feminine principle is your subconscious, your imagination, and your creative faculties. It takes the focused intention from the conscious mind and works silently, in the dark, to weave it into the fabric of your reality. The law of creation is absolute. Nothing is ever created without the cooperation of both principles. The masculine principle alone is just a seed held in a closed hand, an idea without a workshop, a plan without a team. It is impotent will. The feminine principle alone is just a fertile field, lying fallow, a workshop without a blueprint, a creative mind without a focused goal. It is dormant, unactivated potential. Creation is the sacred union of the two. It is the act of the masculine principle impressing its desire upon the receptive feminine principle, which then takes that seed of an idea and begins the mysterious process of gestation and birth. Consider the simple act of creating a business. The initial aha moment, the flash of inspiration, the decision to commit and say, "I'm going to do this." That is the masculine principle providing the seed, but that is not enough. That seed must be planted in the fertile soil of the feminine principle. This involves the patient work of planning, researching, networking, developing the details, managing the finances, and nurturing the project through its inevitable challenges. It is the creative, developmental, and sustaining work that allows the initial spark to grow into a living, breathing enterprise. One without the other is doomed to failure. A person with 1,000 great ideas who never acts on them is overbalanced in the feminine. A person who aggressively starts a new project every week but never follows through is overbalanced in the masculine. This brings us to the crucial point. Every single one of us, regardless of our physical body, contains both the masculine and feminine principles within our own mind. The goal of the Hermetic student is to become a balanced being, a master of their own inner creative process. This means developing a powerful, focused, disciplined, strong masculine principle so that you can consciously choose what seeds you want to plant in your life. It also means cultivating a receptive, trusting, creative subconscious, a strong feminine principle that can take your intentions and skillfully manifest them without the interference of doubt or fear. You must be both the gardener who resolutely plants the seed and the fertile earth that lovingly nurtures it to fruition. When these two principles are balanced and working in harmony within you, you become a true master creator, capable of giving birth to any reality you can conceive. And with that, our journey through the 7 principles is complete. We began by understanding the mental nature of the universe. We saw its beautiful, ordered structure through correspondence. We felt its ceaseless energy through vibration. We learned to navigate its spectrums through polarity. We learned to ride its great waves through rhythm. We claimed our power by becoming the cause of our own reality. And now, with gender, we understand the very process of how a cause gives birth to an effect. We have been given all the individual ingredients, all the keys to the universal operating system. The final task is not to learn more principles, but to learn how to use them all together in a harmonious, integrated symphony of conscious creation. This sacred act of combining the principles, of balancing the forces within our own soul to turn the lead of our current reality into the gold of our highest potential, is known in the ancient traditions as the great work. It is the ultimate goal of the alchemist. And our next step is to learn how to begin. We have completed our extraordinary journey through the 7 Hermetic principles. We have walked a path from the grandest cosmic truth that the all is mind, down through the laws of correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and finally, to the creative principle of gender. We have gathered 7 distinct, powerful gems of wisdom. The temptation for many is to admire these gems separately, to understand them intellectually as interesting philosophical concepts. But to do so is to miss the entire point. The goal of the Hermeticist is not to be a collector of intellectual jewels. The goal is to be an alchemist. It is to learn how to fuse these principles into a single, unified tool, a philosopher's stone for the mind, capable of the one true miracle, the transmutation of reality itself. This art is known as mental alchemy, and it is not a metaphor. It is the practical science of changing the vibrational quality of your own consciousness, and therefore, changing the world you experience. The ancient alchemists spoke of transmuting base metals, like lead, into the purest gold. The uninitiated thought they were speaking of physical chemistry, but the masters were always speaking of a higher, more important work. For them, lead was a symbol for the ordinary, unconscious mind. Lead is heavy, dense, dull, and toxic. It represents the state of fear, ignorance, limitation, doubt, and sadness. It is the feeling of being a victim, of life being a heavy burden. It is the raw, chaotic, unworked-on material of the human soul. Gold, on the other hand, was the symbol for the illumined mind, the awakened consciousness. Gold is radiant, precious, incorruptible, and shines with its own light. It represents the state of courage, wisdom, freedom, love, and joy. It is the feeling of lightness, of flow, of purpose, and of being a conscious creator in harmony with the universe. The great work, the magnum opus of the alchemist, is this very transmutation. And the laboratory is not a stone cellar filled with furnaces and beakers, it is the human mind. The 7 Hermetic principles are the secret formula for this divine process. Let us make this practical. Imagine you are a master chef, and the principles are your essential ingredients. Your life is the dish you are creating. Let's say you want to transmute the lead of a deep-seated feeling of financial lack and anxiety into the gold of prosperity and peace of mind. Here is how the alchemist chef would work. First, you apply the principle of mentalism. You recognize that you are a chef in a fully equipped kitchen, not a prisoner in a cell. You affirm the foundational truth. My financial reality is a mental construct, not a fixed, external fact. I have the power to create a different reality. This awareness is the first step that makes everything else possible. Second, you use the principle of correspondence to read the recipe of your current situation. As within, so without. You look at the lead of your external world, the empty bank account, the stressful bills, the below, and you ask, what is the corresponding state within me? The above. Through honest self-reflection, you identify the inner cause, a limiting belief like, I am not worthy of wealth, or a deep-seated fear that money is scarce. You have now diagnosed the problem. Third, you apply the principle of vibration. You cannot create a rich, warm stew with cold, frozen ingredients. You must change the energy. You consciously decide to change your dominant vibration regarding money. Instead of dwelling in the heavy, slow vibration of lack, you begin to cultivate the high frequency of gratitude for the abundance you do have, no matter how small. You focus on the feeling of relief, of security, of freedom. You are raising the temperature in your mental kitchen. Fourth, you use the principle of polarity to refine the flavor. The old anxiety doesn't just vanish, but now you don't fight it. You recognize that fear of poverty and confidence in abundance are simply the two poles of the same financial well-being spectrum. You deliberately choose to slide your focus up the scale. You transmute the energy of worry into the energy of focused, positive planning. You are consciously choosing a new, more desirable flavor profile for your life. Fifth, you honor the principle of rhythm. A master chef knows that things take time to cook. There will be an ebb and a flow. An unexpected expense might appear, the pendulum swinging left. You use the art of neutralization to remain calm, knowing this is a natural part of the process. You remain vigilant, watching for the rhythmic upswing, a new opportunity, a sudden insight, a helpful connection, and you act decisively to ride that wave of opportunity. Sixth, you apply the law of cause and effect. You stop waiting for wealth to find you. You become the cause. You actively plant new seeds. You update your resume. You take a course to learn a new skill. You create a budget. You start a small side business. Every one of these actions is a new, potent cause that, by law, must produce a new effect. You are now actively adding high-quality ingredients to your creation. Finally, you use the principle of gender to complete the process. Your focused will, your decisive actions, that is the masculine principle planting the seeds. But this must be balanced by the feminine principle. Your patience, your trust in the process, your creativity in overcoming obstacles, and you're allowing the plan to gestate and unfold. You must balance doing with being, action with receptivity. You are now truly cooking with cosmic power. The result of this integrated process is the miracle of transmutation. Like a master sculptor who looks at a rough block of marble, the alchemist does not see an ugly stone. They see the perfect statue of an angel already existing within it. The great work is not about creating something from nothing. It is about seeing the gold of your perfect, divine self that is already present, hidden beneath the lead of your fears, doubts, and limiting beliefs. The 7 principles are the chisels you use to chip away everything that is not you, revealing the masterpiece that has been there all along. We have now assembled the complete toolkit. We have learned the 7 laws of the universe's operating system and how to combine them into a single, powerful process. The theoretical journey is complete. Now, the real work, the great work, begins. We must turn this powerful lens of understanding inward into the most complex and important laboratory we will ever have access to. The inner universe of our own mind. We have assembled the philosopher's stone. We have taken the 7 universal principles and fused them into a single, cohesive process for mental alchemy. The art of transmuting the lead of a burdensome reality into the gold of a life lived with purpose and joy. We possess the complete operating system of the universe. Now, the time for looking outward at the grand cosmic laws is over. The time has come to turn this powerful instrument of understanding inward. For the final frontier, the most important territory you will ever explore, is not in the stars above, but in the universe that exists within your own mind. Here, in this inner cosmos, we find the most immediate, the most personal, and the most powerful application of the master key. As above, so below. Within you, right now, are 2 distinct yet interconnected worlds. There is your conscious mind. This is the above in your personal universe. It is the part of you that is listening to my voice, the part that reasons, analyzes, judges, and makes choices. It is the seat of your willpower. It is the watcher at the gate of your awareness, the sky that beholds your inner world. But beneath this sky, beneath the surface of your conscious awareness, lies a realm that is vastly more immense and powerful. This is your subconscious mind, the below. This is the deep, dark, fertile soil of your being. It is the seat of your emotions, your long-term memories, your habits, and your involuntary bodily functions like your heartbeat and your breathing. Crucially, it is the storehouse of every core belief you hold about yourself and about life. And unlike the conscious mind, it is not logical. It does not reason or debate. It simply accepts and executes whatever is planted within it. To understand the relationship between these 2 minds, imagine your being is a great ship sailing across the ocean of life. Your conscious mind is the captain on the bridge. The captain has the maps, reads the charts, sees the horizon, and makes decisions. He gives orders into the ship's telegraph, sending commands down to the engine room. Your subconscious mind is the vast, powerful crew working in that engine room. This crew never sees the sky or the stars. They do not question the captain's orders. Their only job is to faithfully execute the commands they receive. When the telegraph rings with the order, full speed ahead, they shovel more coal into the furnace. When the order is hard to port, they turn the rudder without hesitation or argument. They run the entire ship based on the commands given from above. Herein lies the source of so much human struggle. For many of us, the captain on the bridge is distracted, asleep, or drunk on the negative inputs of the world. He is not giving clear, conscious commands. Instead, he allows old, pre-recorded orders from our past from parents, teachers, and society to play on a loop. Orders like, you're not smart enough, you have to work hard for every penny, you'll never find someone who truly loves you. The faithful crew in the engine room hears these commands day after day. They say, I, Captain, and they proceed to manipulate the ship's course to make those orders a reality. They will cause you to overlook opportunities, to say the wrong thing in an interview, to be attracted to unavailable partners all in a perfect, loyal attempt to follow the orders they have been given. Your limiting beliefs are not just passive ideas. They are active commands being carried out by a powerful and obedient crew, creating the self-fulfilling prophecy of your life. The great work, then, is to wake up the captain. It is the process of consciously taking command of your own ship and learning to issue new orders. This is the art of reprogramming your subconscious mind. There are three primary tools for this sacred work. The first is autosuggestion. This is the art of giving new, clear, consistent commands. You must speak the language the engine room understands. This means using the present tense. No, I will be wealthy, but I am wealthy and abundant. It means using emotion, for the subconscious speaks the language of feeling. You must feel the truth of your new command, and it requires repetition. You must issue the new order again and again, especially in those quiet moments just before sleep and just after waking, when the veil between the conscious and subconscious is at its thinnest. The second tool is visualization. The crew in the engine room has never seen the tropical island you wish to sail to. Words alone are not enough. You must show them the pictures. Visualization is the act of creating a vivid, detailed mental movie of your desired destination. You close your eyes and you don't just think about your goal, you live it. You see the sights, you hear the sounds, you feel the emotions of having already achieved it. This provides a clear, unmistakable blueprint for your subconscious mind to work towards. A new destination on the cosmic map. The third tool is meditation. If your mind is a ship, meditation is the act of the captain telling the chattering, panicked officers on the bridge to be quiet for a moment. It stops the constant flow of old, negative, automatic commands from being sent down to the engine room. It creates a space of deep calm and silence. In this silence, two magical things happen. First, the subconscious mind has a chance to rest and integrate the new, positive orders you have been giving it. Second, the captain can finally hear the subtle, wiser whispers, the guidance of his own intuition, the wisdom of the sea itself. It is in this quiet space that true transformation takes root. This is the most immediate and vital form of mental alchemy. It is the application of as above, so below to your own being. Your conscious mind is the above, planting seeds of thought. Your subconscious mind is the below, the fertile ground that grows those seeds into the tangible trees of your reality. For millennia, we have been planting seeds of fear, doubt, and limitation in our own inner gardens by default. The work now is to become a conscious gardener, to deliberately uproot the weeds and plant the seeds of joy, abundance, and love. But what happens when we do this? What happens when the captain is awake and giving new orders? The ship's course must change, and as the ship changes its course, the scenery outside the portholes has no choice but to change with it. This brings us to the next profound truth. The outer world is nothing more than a flawless mirror of the work we are doing within. We have turned the key and entered the control room of our own being. We have begun the great work of internal alchemy, consciously issuing new commands to the vast, powerful crew of our subconscious mind. We are changing the captain, and the captain is changing the orders. The ship is beginning to turn, but what is the evidence? How do we know this profound inner work is having any real effect? The answer lies in the scenery outside the portholes. For the next great hermetic truth you must integrate is this: the universe is a perfect, flawless, and utterly impartial mirror. The world you experience is nothing more and nothing less than a direct reflection of your own inner state. This is perhaps one of the most challenging, and yet most liberating, principles to fully embrace. We are conditioned to see our lives as a movie playing out before us, with ourselves as spectators, or at best, actors reacting to a pre-written script. We celebrate when the plot is favorable, and we despair when it is not. The Hermetic wisdom flips this perception entirely. It informs us that we are not the audience. We are the projector, and the film that is being played, in vivid, three-dimensional reality, is the sum total of our beliefs, our emotions, our fears, and our dominant vibrations. The world is not happening to you. It is happening from you. Imagine a person entering a room whose walls are covered in 1,000 mirrors. If they walk in with a bright, open smile, they will be greeted by 1,000 smiling faces. The room will feel like the most joyous, welcoming place imaginable. If they walk into that very same room with a scowl on their face and their fists clenched, they will be met by 1,000 angry, threatening figures. The room will feel hostile, dangerous, and terrifying. The room itself is neutral. The mirrors do not judge. They do not have an agenda. They simply reflect, with perfect, unwavering accuracy, whatever is stood before them. Your life is this room of mirrors. When you understand this, the frustrating, repeating patterns of your life are no longer a mystery. They become a curriculum. They become a diagnostic tool. Consider the person who constantly complains, "Why do I always attract partners who are untrustworthy and betray me?" The universe, as a mirror, is reflecting something back to them. It may be reflecting a deep-seated core belief, an order given long ago to the subconscious that says, "I am not worthy of loyalty," or "people can't be trusted." Or perhaps the mirror is even more literal, reflecting back their own untrustworthiness, their own lack of integrity with themselves. The repeating pattern is not a curse. It is the universe lovingly sending you the same lesson in different masks, over and over, until you finally see the reflection of yourself and heal the inner cause. Consider the person perennially trapped in financial struggle, always feeling that there is never enough. The mirror of their bank account is simply reflecting their inner state of poverty consciousness. The feeling of lack they experience inside is perfectly materialized as the reality of lack outside. The universe cannot deliver abundance to a consciousness that is vibrating at the frequency of scarcity, any more than a mirror can show a smile when you are frowning. It is a violation of the law. Even your physical health acts as a mirror. Persistent fatigue, chronic pain, or recurring illnesses can often be the body's way of reflecting a life that is out of energetic alignment, a soul that is tired of a job it hates, or a heart that is aching from an unresolved emotional wound. It is crucial to reframe this principle away from self-blame. The immediate human reaction is to hear this and think, "So, all the bad things that have happened to me are my fault." This is a misunderstanding. It is not about fault, it is about feedback. The mirror is not a tool of punishment. It is a divine, loving guidance system. Think of the rumble strips on the side of a highway. They are not there to punish the driver for falling asleep. They are there to create a loud, jarring vibration to wake the driver up and lovingly guide them back to their intended path. The difficult situations, the painful relationships, the frustrating lack in your life, these are the universe's rumble strips. They are a merciful feedback mechanism designed to wake you up to the inner beliefs and vibrations that are steering you off the course of your highest good. The proper response to seeing a negative reflection is not shame. It is gratitude. Thank you for this reflection. Thank you for showing me this part of myself that is ready to be healed. There is a timeless story of two people looking out from the same prison cell window. One looks down and sees only the mud. He complains about the filth, the ugliness, the hopelessness of his situation. The other looks up and, through the same bars, sees the stars. He is filled with a sense of wonder and hope. The window is the same. The view is the same. The only difference was their inner state, their point of focus. Their above created their experienced below. Reality is a field of infinite potential. You experience the slice of it that matches your inner setting. This principle of the world as a mirror may sound like a beautiful, spiritual metaphor or a useful psychological model. And it is. But what if it were more? What if the very fabric of physical reality itself was designed to respond to the one observing it? What if our most advanced science, in probing the deepest mysteries of matter and energy, stumbled upon truths that echo these ancient teachings? For centuries, the idea that a conscious observer could influence a physical event was the domain of mystics and magicians. But in the strange and wonderful world of quantum physics, it is now a demonstrable fact. Our next step is to bridge the gap between the ancient temple and the modern laboratory. To see that what Hermes taught millennia ago is now, in a new language, being discovered again. We have arrived at a startling and deeply personal conclusion. The universe operates as a great mirror, reflecting our inner state into our outer reality with perfect fidelity. For many, this remains a powerful psychological tool, a compelling spiritual philosophy. It seems to belong to the realm of belief and metaphor. For centuries, a vast chasm seemed to exist between the two great temples of human knowledge. The ancient temple of esoteric wisdom, which spoke of consciousness, spirit, and the power of mind, and the modern temple of science, which spoke of matter, force, and an objective, measurable reality. But in the early 20th century, As physicists began their journey deeper and deeper into the heart of matter, they discovered a world so bizarre, so paradoxical, that the walls of the modern temple began to tremble, and across the chasm, they could hear the faint, echoing whispers of the ancient mystics. This is the world of quantum physics. For 300 years, the scientific worldview was dominated by Newtonian physics. The universe was seen as a giant, predictable machine, a magnificent clockwork creation. It was made of solid, definite stuff. A planet, a rock, a grain of sand, these things existed in a specific place at a specific time, whether anyone was looking at them or not. Reality was objective. The moon is still there even when you close your eyes. In this mechanical universe, consciousness was seen as a strange accident, a ghost in the machine, a mere byproduct of the chemical reactions in the brain. It had no power to influence the solid, external world. It was a spectator, not a participant. But when scientists developed the tools to probe the subatomic realm, the very building blocks of this solid, clockwork machine, the machine dissolved into pure magic. They discovered that electrons, photons, and the other particles that make up our world are not like tiny, solid billiard balls at all. When not being observed, they do not exist in any single place. Instead, they exist as a shimmering, invisible cloud of pure potential, a wave of probability. This discovery alone was revolutionary. It meant that at its most fundamental level, the universe is not made of solid things, but of infinite possibilities. This sounds less like a machine and more like a mind, a field of unmanifested potential, waiting for a catalyst. The catalyst, as it turned out, was consciousness itself. This was demonstrated most famously in the elegant and mind-bending double-slit experiment. The setup is simple. Imagine firing single electrons, one at a time, at a barrier with two small vertical slits in it. Behind the barrier is a detector screen that records where each electron lands. If electrons were like tiny marbles, you would expect to see two distinct bands on the screen, corresponding to the two slits they could have passed through. But that is not what happens. When scientists perform the experiment without trying to watch which slit the electron goes through, the electrons create a wave interference pattern, a series of many bands that proves each single electron acted like a wave and somehow passed through both slits at the same time. It existed only as a wave of potential. Here comes the impossible twist. The scientists, baffled by this, decided to place a tiny detector at the slits, a miniature camera, to watch and see which path each electron actually took. The very moment they did this, the moment they introduced the act of conscious observation into the experiment, the behavior of the universe changed. The interference pattern vanished. The electron stopped being a ghostly wave of possibility and instantly collapsed into a single, definite particle, landing in one of the two expected bands. It is as if the universe, when unobserved, exists in a state of infinite, dreamlike potential. But when consciousness turns its attention towards it and asks the question, "Where are you?" the universe is forced to choose, to collapse all its possibilities into a single, concrete, physical event. This is the observer effect, and its implication is perhaps the most profound in the history of science. The observer is not separate from the observed. The act of conscious attention directly affects and co-creates the physical reality that is being measured. This is a scientific demonstration of the Hermetic master key. As above the act of a conscious mind observing, so below the resulting event on the physical plane. The universe is not a static object we are looking at. It is a participatory dance, and we are its dance partners. Your consciousness is not a passive camera recording a pre-existing world. It is an active force, constantly collapsing waves of potential into the particles of your experience. Think of your reality as a computer screen filled with icons. Each icon represents a potential experience, a potential reality. As long as they remain unclicked, they are all just possibilities. Your focused attention is the mouse pointer, and your choice, your observation, is the click that closes the field of potential and launches one specific program into your manifest reality. This is why the ancient wisdom traditions placed such a profound emphasis on controlling the mind and directing one's attention. Because where your attention goes, the energy of creation flows. This is not a fringe interpretation. Max Planck, the Nobel laureate, who is considered the father of quantum theory, famously stated, "I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness." We cannot get behind consciousness. Everything that we talk about, everything that we regard as existing, postulates consciousness. The two temples are beginning to speak the same language. The ancient mystic and the quantum physicist have both journeyed to the edge of reality and have sent back the same report. The universe is not a great machine, but a great thought, and we are not its cogs, but its co-thinkers. This incredible discovery raises another question. Is this profound influence of mind over matter confined to the strange world of subatomic particles in a physics laboratory? Or does this same principle operate in a far more intimate, far more personal laboratory that you carry with you every moment of every day? What if your own body is also a quantum field, a sea of possibilities? What if your thoughts, your beliefs, your perceptions, your inner observer are constantly collapsing the potential of your own cells into the reality of either sickness or health? The next scientific frontier that beautifully mirrors this ancient wisdom is not in physics, but in biology. In a revolutionary field that shows us exactly how the mind sculpts the body, right down to the level of our genes. This field is called epigenetics. We have just witnessed one of the most profound discoveries in modern physics. The act of conscious observation collapses waves of infinite potential into the concrete particles of our physical world. The observer, the above, has a direct and undeniable effect on the observed, the below. For decades, this mind-bending truth seemed confined to the bizarre quantum realm of electrons and photons. But what if this principle doesn't just apply to particles in a laboratory? What if it applies to the cells in your own body? For most of modern history, we have been taught a story of genetic determinism. The old scientific dogma was that our DNA is our destiny. We are born with a set of genetic blueprints, and these blueprints dictate our traits, our health, and our fate. If you had the gene for cancer or the gene for heart disease, you were seen as a biological time bomb, a victim of your heredity. This worldview places us firmly in the role of an effect, a pawn in a genetic game we have no control over. But a revolutionary new field of biology has completely overthrown this tyranny of the genes. It is called epigenetics, and its discoveries are perfectly in tune with the ancient Hermetic wisdom. The word epi means above or on top of. Epigenetics, therefore, is the science of the control that exists above the genes. It reveals that our genes are not our destiny, they are our potential. Think of your DNA as a vast library filled with millions of blueprints. You have blueprints for health and vitality, and you may also have blueprints for various diseases. The old dogma assumed that the blueprints themselves ran the factory of your body. Epigenetics proves that this is false. The blueprints sit dormant in the library until a contractor is sent to pull a specific print and begin construction. Epigenetics is the study of this contractor. It is the study of the environmental signals that tell your genes which blueprints to read and which to ignore. The pioneering work of cellular biologist Dr. Bruce Lipton provides the crucial bridge between this science and our consciousness. In his famous experiments, he placed genetically identical stem cells into 3 different petri dishes. The only difference was the culture medium, the environment he put them in. In one environment, the cells became bone cells. In the second, they became muscle cells. In the third, they became fat cells. The genes did not change, the environment did. The fate of the cells was not controlled by the blueprint, but by the environment they perceived around them. Now for the most important question: what is the environment of the 50 trillion cells inside your body? The environment is your blood. And what determines the chemical composition of your blood? Your brain. Your brain is the master chemist, constantly taking in information from the outside world, interpreting it through the filter of your beliefs, and then releasing a corresponding cocktail of chemicals into your bloodstream. Your perception of the world is what creates the chemical culture medium that your cells are living in. Your perception becomes your body's reality. Let's see this in action. Imagine you perceive your environment as stressful. You are worried about a deadline, angry about the traffic, or anxious from watching the nightly news. Your brain interprets this perception of threat and activates the fight or flight response. It releases a powerful cocktail of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline into your blood. This chemical signal is received by every cell in your body. It is an order from the central command. This order tells the cells to shut down all long-term, non-essential projects like growth, repair, and strengthening the immune system, and to divert all energy towards immediate survival. If you live in a chronic state of stress, you are constantly bathing your cells in a toxic culture medium that tells them, now is not the time to be healthy. Now is the time to survive. Is it any wonder then that a mental state of chronic stress, the above, so often leads to a physical state of chronic disease, the below? Now, imagine you perceive your environment as loving and joyous. You are feeling gratitude, compassion, or the thrill of creative inspiration. Your brain interprets this perception of safety and joy and releases a completely different chemical cocktail. It produces wonderful hormones like oxytocin, dopamine, and endorphins, the chemicals of growth and vitality. This new signal travels through your bloodstream and tells your 50 trillion cells it is safe. Now is the time to heal, to grow, to regenerate, and to thrive. A state of love and gratitude, the above, literally sends chemical instructions to your cells to create a strong, healthy, vibrant body, the below. Your thoughts are not harmless, ephemeral things. They are chemical realities. Your beliefs are biological instructions. This is the ultimate biological empowerment. You are not a victim of your genes. Less than 5% of disease is caused by heredity alone. The vast majority is influenced by the signals from our environment. And the most important environment is the one created by our own minds. You may carry the blueprint for a particular disease, but that blueprint can remain dormant in the library for your entire life if you, the manager of the factory, never send the chemical contractor to activate it. By changing your beliefs, by managing your emotions, by choosing your perceptions, by doing the great work of mental alchemy, you are literally changing the chemical information being sent to your genes. You are learning to become the master of your own genetic expression. We have now seen how the observer effect operates not just in the quantum world, but in the biological universe of our own bodies. Your mind, your consciousness, your perception is the ultimate epigenetic engineer. This bestows upon us a profound responsibility to become masters of our own thinking. So, if our thoughts are the architects of our biology, what are those thoughts made of? What is the primary tool we use to form our beliefs, to define our perceptions, and to issue commands to the subconscious mind? The answer is language. The words we use, both in the silent sanctuary of our own minds and in the world at large, are the very tools with which we sculpt our reality. And our next step is to examine the incredible, magical power of those words. We have journeyed into the very heart of our own biology and discovered a staggering truth. Our thoughts, beliefs, and perceptions act as epigenetic engineers, constantly sending chemical instructions to our cells and shaping our physical reality from the inside out. Your mind is the architect of your body. This truth bestows upon us a profound, and perhaps daunting, responsibility. If our thoughts are this powerful, we must become masters of them. And this forces us to ask a fundamental question. What is the raw material of our thoughts? For most of us, most of the time, that material is language. The words we use are not just passive labels we attach to a pre-existing reality. They are vibrational formulas. They are magical incantations. They are the programming code we use, consciously or unconsciously, to write the script of our lives. The language you use acts as a powerful filter on your perception of reality. It determines what your brain pays attention to and what it ignores. An Eskimo culture may have dozens of distinct words for what we simply call snow, allowing them to perceive a far more nuanced and detailed winter world. In the same way, your personal vocabulary determines the world you inhabit. If your internal and external vocabulary is filled with words like struggle, problem, impossible, stress, and failure, then you are programming your brain to seek out and create a reality that matches that description. Conversely, If you consciously choose to cultivate a vocabulary built around words like opportunity, challenge, possibility, learning, and growth, you literally begin to see and experience a different world. Words create worlds. Of all the words in your command, 2 of them possess more creative power than all the others combined. These 2 words are a direct command to the universe, a definitive statement of being that your subconscious mind accepts as absolute law. These words are, I am. These are not just words of description, they are words of creation. When you say them, you are casting a powerful spell. Whatever you attach to I am becomes your designated identity, and your entire being will conspire to make it your reality. When you say, half-jokingly, I am so clumsy, you are issuing a command to your subconscious to miscoordinate your movements. When you sigh, I am always so broke before payday, you are instructing your inner world to create a reality of lack. When you decide, I am just not good at relationships, you are decreeing a future of romantic disappointment. You are the king in the kingdom of yourself, and your every I am statement is a royal decree that the entire kingdom rushes to obey. Consider the parable of a mythical king whose every spoken utterance instantly became law in his kingdom. In his early reign, he was careless with his words. He would complain offhandedly, I'm drowning in paperwork, and the ink on his desk would begin to swell and rise like a flood. He would sigh to a courtier, you give me such a headache, and a blinding migraine would strike him down. He created chaos through his unconscious, negative decrees. But in time, he realized the terrifying power he wielded. He learned to speak with absolute precision and intention. He began to issue new decrees. My kingdom is prosperous and peaceful. My people are healthy and resourceful. My storehouses are always overflowing with abundance. And because his word was law, the reality of his kingdom transformed to match his conscious, deliberate commands. Each of us is this king. Your life is your kingdom. Your words are the law. The conscious and deliberate use of this power is the art of affirmation. And affirmation is not wishful thinking. It is a new royal decree designed to overwrite the old, negative programming. To be effective, your decrees must follow certain rules. First, they must be stated in the positive and in the present tense. The subconscious mind does not process negatives well and only understands the now. To say, I will not be afraid, is a poor command, as it focuses on fear. The decree must be, I am courageous and confident. Second, your words must be charged with emotion. Emotion is the energetic fuel that drives the command into the fertile soil of the subconscious. You must feel the truth of what you are saying. Feel the peace. Feel the confidence. Feel the gratitude. Third, you must trust the process. Your job as king is to issue the decree, not to micromanage how your subjects carry it out. Decree, I am a magnet for brilliant opportunities, and then allow the universe to arrange the details. It is also vital to use language that your conscious mind will accept. If you are deeply in debt, affirming, I am a multi-millionaire, may create a powerful internal conflict, as your rational mind screams, that's a lie. This is like a king issuing a decree so outrageous that his own advisors revolt. A more skillful alchemist of language would use a process-oriented decree. Instead of a statement that feels false, you might say, every day, in every way, I am becoming more prosperous and financially free. Or, I am mastering the art of abundance. Or, I am open and receptive to all the wealth the universe has to offer. These statements feel true and build momentum without triggering your own internal resistance. You are affirming the journey, the becoming, which is always true in the present moment. We now see that language is the primary tool we use to chisel our thoughts, and our thoughts are the architects of our reality. But words are the language of the conscious, rational mind. There is another language, an older and often more potent form of communication, that bypasses the logic gate of the conscious mind and speaks directly to the deep, symbolic realm of the subconscious. It is the language of images, of archetypes, and of sacred, focused action. For millennia, humanity has used this language to focus intention and manifest change in the world. We call this language by many names, but its essence can be distilled into 2 forms, ritual and symbolism. Our next step is to understand why these ancient technologies of the soul are so powerful and how we can use them to amplify the decrees we make with our words. We have explored the incredible creative power of language, learning to use our words and our I am declarations as a master craftsman uses a chisel, sculpting our thoughts and beliefs with conscious intent. But language, as potent as it is the primary language of the conscious mind, the captain on the bridge. There is another language, a deeper, older, more primal language that is understood far more fluently by the vast and powerful subconscious mind, the crew in the engine room. It is the language that humanity spoke before we had complex grammar. It is the language of images, of feelings, of archetypes, and of symbolic action. It is the language of ritual and symbolism. And learning to speak it is like discovering a secret back door into the control room of your own reality. Do not let the word ritual conjure images of arcane, superstitious practices. In the context of mental alchemy, a ritual is a highly sophisticated psychological and spiritual technology. To understand its power, we must remember the nature of our subconscious mind. It is not a scholar who is persuaded by linear logic and eloquent arguments. It is a dreamer, an artist, a child. It thinks in pictures, it feels in archetypes, it understands stories. Your dreams at night are the perfect evidence of this. They are rarely logical, but they are always rich with symbolic imagery and intense emotion. This is the native tongue of your subconscious. To communicate our deepest intentions most effectively, we must learn to speak this language. A ritual is simply a physical action that is consciously imbued with meaning and purpose. It is a story you tell your body. It is a play you perform for an audience of one. Your own deep mind. When you simply say an affirmation, you are engaging one part of your brain. But when you create a ritual around that affirmation, you are engaging your entire being. Your mind is focused on the intention, your body is performing the action, and your emotions are engaged by the symbolic nature of the event. This multi-layered experience sends a signal to your subconscious that is exponentially more powerful and clear than words alone. Consider the simple act of signing a legal contract. A verbal promise can be made and easily forgotten. It is just sound waves dissipating in the air. But the act of sitting down at a formal desk, taking up a special pen, and physically inscribing your unique signature onto a piece of paper, this is a ritual. The document itself, with its formal seal, is a symbol. The entire process impresses upon your subconscious the weight, seriousness, and reality of the commitment in a way that words alone never could. A personal ritual is you signing a contract with yourself and with the universe. You are declaring, with your whole being, "This is my will, so be it." The beauty of this is that you can create simple, powerful rituals for any area of your life. You do not need elaborate ceremony. For instance, you can transform your morning coffee or tea from a mundane habit into a sacred ritual. As you stir your drink, instead of thinking about the day's worries, consciously stir your intentions into the vortex. With each circular motion, feel the energy of what you want to create. Peace, productivity, creativity. As you drink, feel yourself taking that intention into every cell of your body. You have just transformed a simple act into a potent, 3-minute manifestation ritual. Another powerful ritual is one of release. If there is a limiting belief, a past hurt, or a negative pattern you wish to be free of, write it down on a piece of paper. The act of writing brings it from the abstract world of thought into the physical world. Then, create a ritual of transformation. You might safely burn the paper, watching the smoke carry the old energy away from you, symbolizing its transmutation back into neutral energy. Or you might go to a river and tear the paper into small pieces, letting the current wash it away, symbolizing a cleansing. The physical action provides a powerful sense of closure that your subconscious mind understands deeply. It says, the story of this limitation is now over. Symbols are the concentrated form of this language. A symbol is an ordinary object that you have deliberately charged with an extraordinary meaning. It becomes a physical anchor for a desired mental or spiritual state. You might choose a small, smooth stone to be your symbol of peace and calm. You hold it in your hand for a few minutes each day while meditating on the feeling of peace. Over time, the stone becomes deeply associated with that state. Then, when you are out in the world and feel a wave of stress, you can simply reach into your pocket and touch the stone. The physical sensation acts as a trigger, a key that instantly unlocks the peaceful state you have encoded within it. A piece of jewelry, a picture, a specific color, anything can become a powerful personal symbol when you infuse it with your focused intention. We have now learned to speak both languages of the mind, the verbal, logical language of the conscious captain, and the symbolic, emotional language of the subconscious crew. We have a complete set of tools to communicate our desires, to reprogram our inner world, and to consciously plant the seeds of a new reality. But as we begin to use these tools, as we start shining the bright light of our conscious intention into the deep, fertile soil of our subconscious, we often find that the ground is not empty. We find rocks of old trauma. We find tangled roots of inherited beliefs. And sometimes, in the shadows, we find parts of ourselves that we have hidden away, parts that are frightened, angry, or ashamed. The very act of trying to cultivate a beautiful garden forces us to first deal with the weeds and the pests. True mastery is not about ignoring this inner darkness. It is about having the courage to face it, to understand it, and to integrate it into a greater whole. This necessary and courageous journey into our own underworld is the topic of our next discussion, overcoming the shadow self. We have armed ourselves with a powerful arsenal of creative tools. We have learned to use the language of affirmation and the sacred technology of ritual to consciously communicate our desires to the universe and to the deep mind within. We are ready to begin planting a beautiful new garden. But as anyone who has ever tilled a piece of land knows, the moment you begin to break new ground, you don't just find fertile soil. You find rocks. You find tangled roots. And you often find creatures living in the darkness that you didn't know were there. In the same way, as you begin this journey of conscious creation, as you start shining the light of your awareness into the subconscious, you will inevitably encounter the parts of yourself that you have denied, repressed, and disowned. You will meet your shadow. The concept of the shadow self, made famous by the great psychologist Carl Jung, is one of the most important and mature steps in any spiritual journey. Your shadow is the invisible bag you have been carrying on your back since childhood. Into this bag, you have stuffed every aspect of your natural human self that you were taught was unacceptable or bad. Your anger, your jealousy, your greed, your fear, your vulnerability, your selfish desires. In order to be loved and accepted by our parents, teachers, and society, we learn to hide these parts away, to pretend they didn't exist. But they do not go away. They simply go into the dark, into the subconscious, below, where they live, unseen, and from where they secretly exert a powerful influence over our lives. This is a direct and powerful application of as above, so below. The conscious mind, the above, works hard to project a persona of being a kind, calm, generous, and positive person. But the repressed shadow, the below, is still active, and it will find a way to be seen. Its primary method is projection. The world is our mirror, and we see our own disowned shadow traits everywhere we look. The man who has repressed his own anger will constantly complain about how aggressive and hostile the world is. The woman who denies her own ambition will be hypercritical of the success of others. The politician who preaches moral purity is often discovered to be engaging in the very behaviors they condemn. Your shadow is not in them. It is in you. You are simply seeing your own reflection. The shadow also rules from below through self-sabotage. Hungry for attention, it will erupt at the worst possible moments, causing a sudden, inexplicable outburst of rage that destroys a relationship, or a Freudian slip that reveals a hidden truth you were trying to conceal. This is why the modern, superficial mantra of positive vibes only is not only ineffective, but can be spiritually dangerous. It is an attempt to live at only one pole of reality, which the principle of polarity tells us is impossible. It is an act of denying half of yourself. Trying to wallpaper over your deep-seated anger, fear, or sadness with cheerful affirmations is like painting over a patch of rust on your car. It may look better for a little while, but the corrosion is still spreading, unseen, underneath. True spiritual maturity is not about being perpetually positive. It is about being courageously whole. It is about having the strength to embrace and integrate all aspects of yourself, both the light and the dark. The ancient Sumerian myth of the goddess Inanna provides a powerful roadmap for this journey. Inanna is the queen of heaven, a being of light, power, and beauty. She is the conscious ego. She decides she must journey to the underworld to face her sister, Ereshkigal, the fearsome queen of the great below her shadow self. To enter the underworld, Inanna must pass through 7 gates, and at each gate, she is forced to remove an item of her royal clothing and jewelry. She must strip away her crown, her power, her identity, her ego. She finally arrives naked and vulnerable before her dark sister, who promptly strikes her dead and hangs her on a meat hook. For 3 days, Inanna hangs in this state of death and dissolution, but through the wisdom of her allies in the world above, she is resurrected. And when she returns to the light, she is no longer just the queen of heaven. She has integrated the power and wisdom of the underworld. She is complete. She is whole. The moral is clear. To become truly powerful, you must have the courage to descend into your own inner darkness, strip away your ego, and face the parts of yourself you have condemned. This journey of integration is not about indulging your dark side. It is not about giving your anger free rein. It is about alchemy. It is about finding the gold hidden within the lead. The process is one of conscious acknowledgement. First, when a shadow emotion like jealousy or rage arises, you do not act on it, but you also do not repress it. You simply notice it. You bring the below into the light of the above by saying, "Ah, there is jealousy. I feel you." You are witnessing it without judgment. Second, you get curious. You ask the emotion a question. Jealousy, what is the desire you are pointing to? Anger, what boundary of mine has been crossed? Fear, what part of me are you trying to protect? You are treating the shadow as a messenger, not an enemy. The final alchemical step is to find the hidden gift. Every shadow trait contains a nugget of gold. The lead of anger contains the gold of healthy boundaries and the passion to protect what you love. The lead of fear contains the gold of wisdom, intuition, and the ability to prepare for real dangers. The lead of greed contains the gold of ambition and the desire to improve your life. Integration is the process of hearing the shadow's message, reclaiming its hidden power, and then consciously choosing how to express that power in a healthy and constructive way. This is the work that tempers the soul. By facing and integrating our shadow, we are no longer at war with ourselves. We reclaim the vast amounts of energy we were using to keep parts of ourselves locked away. We become authentic. We become whole. The captain on the bridge and the crew in the engine room are finally working as a unified team. With this new, integrated power, with this deep sense of wholeness, we are finally ready for the true culmination of the Hermetic arts. We are ready to move beyond just healing our wounds and to begin creating our reality from a place of profound and unshakable power. We are ready for the art of conscious manifestation. We have now arrived at the culmination of our journey through the 7 principles. We have traveled from the cosmic to the personal. We have faced the darkness within. And we have emerged, not just healed, but whole. With this newfound integration, with the captain and the engine room crew finally working in harmony, we are no longer merely fixing a broken machine. We are now ready to become true artists of reality. We are ready to learn the sacred art of manifestation. Let go of any preconceived notions you may have. This is not about a simplistic ask, believe, receive formula. It is the practical application of all 7 Hermetic laws working in concert, a divine science of co-creating with the universe. It is the art of deliberately turning the energy of thought into the substance of experience. This process is a dance between you and the universe, a perfect blend of masculine intention and feminine surrender. It is the great work in practice. Let us walk through the steps of this sacred dance, using the example of manifesting a fulfilling new career path, one that truly aligns with your soul's purpose. The first step is clear intention. This is the application of the principle of mentalism and the masculine principle of gender. You must decide with absolute, laser-like clarity what it is you wish to create. A vague desire like, I want a better job, is a weak seed that will produce weak results. You must be specific. I intend to create a career where I use my creative talents to help people, where I work with a supportive and inspiring team, and where I am compensated with abundance and gratitude. You are creating a detailed mental blueprint. This is the masculine act of projecting a clear, focused thought into the mind of the all. Without a clear intention, the creative forces of the universe have nothing to build. The second, and perhaps most vital step, is to generate the vibration of fulfillment. This engages the principles of vibration and polarity. It is not enough to think about what you want. You must feel what it is like to already have it. Close your eyes. What does it feel like in your body to wake up on a Monday morning excited to start your work? Feel the joy. Feel the purpose. What does it feel like to be surrounded by colleagues who respect and value you? Feel the connection. What does it feel like to look at your bank account and feel a sense of peace and security? Feel the relief. You are not pretending. You are using polarity to consciously choose the positive emotional pole, and you are using vibration to tune your entire being to the frequency of the reality you desire. By the law of resonance, the universe must begin to present you with things that match this new frequency. You are becoming a vibrational match to your desire. The third step is radical trust. This is the application of the principle of correspondence and the feminine principle of gender. Once you have planted the seed of your intention and activated its vibration with your feeling, your next job is to let it go. You must surrender the outcome to the universe. You must release your desperate need to control the how and the when. This is often the hardest step. By trusting in correspondence, you know that your inner state, above, must be reflected in your outer reality, below. The process has begun. The feminine, creative intelligence of the universe has received your seed and is beginning the process of gestation in the unseen realms. If you constantly dig up the seed by worrying, doubting, and trying to force things, you will kill the creation before it has a chance to sprout. Trust is the fertile darkness in which your intention takes root. The fourth step is the dance of inspired action. This engages the principles of rhythm and cause and effect. Surrender does not mean passivity. It means you stop hustling and grinding from a place of fear and lack, and you start listening for the subtle nudges of the universe. You are now attuned to a new rhythm. You will suddenly get the impulse to call an old friend. You will see an article about a workshop that sparks your interest. You will overhear a conversation that gives you a brilliant idea. This is inspired action. It feels light, joyful, and effortless. It doesn't feel like work. When you follow these nudges, you are meeting the universe halfway. You are acting on the upswing of the pendulum of rhythm, and you are becoming a conscious cause, planting more seeds that are in perfect alignment with your ultimate goal. The fifth step is patient nurturing. This is a deeper expression of the feminine principle of gender. Creation requires a period of gestation. A baby takes 9 months. An oak tree takes decades. You must protect your desire from the frost of doubt, both from your own mind and from the limiting beliefs of others. When fear arises, you don't fight it. You simply return to step 2 and reactivate the feeling of fulfillment. You nurture your dream in the quiet womb of your faith, trusting that the unseen forces are at work. The sixth and final step is joyful gratitude. As the universe begins to deliver pieces of your manifestation, a positive phone call, a helpful contact, a successful interview, and finally, the job offer itself, you must receive them with open arms and a heart full of genuine gratitude. Gratitude is the ultimate high-frequency state. It is the signal you send to the universe that says, "Thank you. I have received this. I am open and ready for more." It completes the creative circuit and opens the door for even greater manifestations, creating a beautiful, positive feedback loop of abundance. This 6-step process, clear intention, embodied feeling, radical trust, inspired action, patient nurturing, and joyful gratitude is the art of manifestation in its complete form. It is the science of aligning your personal will with the universal laws. It is you, finally taking your place as a conscious co-creator with the all. This is a profound power, capable of transforming every aspect of your personal world. But the Hermetic principles are universal, and they do not stop at the edge of your skin. If an individual can manifest their reality, what happens when we apply this law to a family, a city, or the entire human race? Our next step is to zoom out from the power of the individual self to the immense, world-shaping power of the collective consciousness. We have arrived at the peak of personal power. We have learned the sacred art of manifestation, the divine science of aligning our inner world to consciously create our outer reality. We understand how to turn the lead of our personal struggles into the gold of a fulfilled life. But the Hermetic principles are universal. They are like gravity. They do not cease to operate at the boundary of your skin. Having learned to apply these laws to the microcosm of the self, we must now lift our gaze and apply them to the macrocosm of our entire world. If as above, so below is true for an individual, it must also be true for the whole of humanity. Let us zoom out from our personal lives, past our families and communities, beyond our nations, until we see our world as the astronauts do. A single, beautiful, living organism hanging in the silent darkness of space. What we see on the surface of this world in our news headlines, in our societies, in our environment is the collective below. It is the shared physical reality of 7 billion human souls. It is our wars and our art, our famines and our festivals, our pollution and our acts of charity. This is the grand effect. But if there is an effect, there must be a cause. If this is the below, there must be a corresponding above. This collective above is what mystics and philosophers have called the collective consciousness. It is the sum total of every human thought, every belief, every fear, every hope, and every prayer on the planet. It is the mental and emotional atmosphere of Earth, a vast, invisible field of consciousness to which each of us is constantly contributing. And just as your personal reality is a mirror of your personal consciousness, the state of our world is a direct, flawless reflection of the state of our collective consciousness. Our world is not broken. It is a perfect mirror showing us our collective inner state. When we look at our world through this lens, its chronic problems are no longer seen as external issues to be solved, but as symptoms of a collective inner sickness to be healed. We see war and constant conflict, and we recognize it as the reflection of a collective consciousness rooted in fear, separation, and an us versus them mentality. We see the destruction of our natural environment, and we recognize it as the reflection of a collective belief that we are separate from nature, a consciousness of greed that values short-term profit over long-term harmony. We see the vast inequalities in wealth and health, and we recognize it as the mirror of a collective mindset of lack and competition, a deep-seated belief that there is not enough to go around. We are not just living in this world. Our shared consciousness is creating it, moment by moment. This realization can feel overwhelming. In the face of such massive, global challenges, it is easy to feel powerless, to think, what difference can I possibly make? The answer lies in a phenomenon known as the 100th monkey effect. In the last century, scientists observing monkeys on an island in Japan taught one of them a new skill: how to wash sweet potatoes in the sea to clean them before eating. This one monkey taught the skill to her family and friends. For a long time, only a small number of monkeys on this one island practiced this new behavior. But then, one day, when a certain critical number of monkeys, let's call it the 100th monkey, had learned the skill, something inexplicable happened. Suddenly, monkeys on other islands with which there was no physical contact, spontaneously began washing their potatoes. The new knowledge had somehow reached a tipping point, a critical mass within the collective consciousness of the species, and became available to all. You are the 100th monkey. Every single time you choose peace in your own heart instead of conflict, every time you choose compassion over judgment, every time you choose forgiveness over resentment, you are doing more than just improving your own life. You are washing your potato. You are adding a drop of purified, high-frequency energy into the collective consciousness of humanity. You may not know if you are the 10th monkey, or the 54th, or the 99th, but your contribution is essential. You might be the very soul whose personal breakthrough, whose private act of courage or radical forgiveness provides the final energetic drop needed to tip the scales for the entire planet, making a new level of awareness, a new way of being, accessible to everyone. Your personal healing work is your greatest service to the world. Think of humanity as a single body. You are one cell in that body. For the entire body to be healthy, each individual cell must strive to be healthy. By doing your own great work, by integrating your shadow, by raising your vibration, by becoming a master of your own energy, you contribute to the overall health and awakening of the entire human organism. The turmoil, chaos, and darkness we see in the world today can be viewed not as a sign that we are doomed, but as a planetary healing crisis. The collective shadow is rising to the surface to be seen, acknowledged, and transmuted. And the growing interest in mindfulness, spirituality, and self-awareness is the evidence that more and more cells are waking up and choosing to heal. We have now seen how these 7 sacred principles govern everything from the formation of a galaxy to the state of our world. We have brought our understanding from the most intimate workings of our own minds to the grand stage of our entire species. This leads us to one final, ultimate question. What is the point of it all? What is the purpose of this great cosmic evolution, both personal and collective? Why should we strive to transmute the lead of our lives into gold? The Hermetic teachings offer one final, profound answer. This entire process, from your smallest personal victory to the great awakening of humanity, is part of a single, ultimate journey. It is the journey of the soul itself. It is the great work. We have journeyed through the vast and intricate landscape of reality. We have learned the 7 laws that govern existence, from the silent dance of galaxies to the hidden workings of our own hearts. We have learned to become the alchemists of our own lives and even glimpsed how our personal transformation contributes to the healing of our world. This leaves us at the threshold of one final, ultimate question. What is the point of it all? Why this elaborate cosmic game of vibration, polarity, and rhythm? Why should we undertake the difficult work of integrating the shadow and manifesting our desires? What is the ultimate purpose of this journey? The Hermetic teachings provide an answer that is at once simple and breathtakingly profound. The purpose of all of it, from your smallest personal struggle to the grand sweep of cosmic evolution, is to accomplish one thing: the great work. In the ancient traditions of alchemy, this was known as the magnum opus. It is the supreme and lifelong purpose of the soul. We have spoken of transmuting lead into gold, and while this applies to turning our problems into peace and our lack into abundance, its truest and deepest meaning is the transmutation of the self. The lead is the ordinary human ego. It is the part of our consciousness that believes itself to be a separate, isolated, and mortal being. It is the mind that identifies completely with the body, the personality, the personal history, and all its fears and limitations. It is the feeling of being a small, fragile fragment, lost in a vast and indifferent universe. The gold, on the other hand, is the enlightened and unified self. It is the state of consciousness that has awakened to its true nature. It is the realization that you are not, and never have been, separate from the divine source of all things. The gold is the consciousness that knows itself to be eternal, indestructible, and completely one with the all. The great work is the sacred journey from the illusion of separation to the reality of union. It is the path of the soul returning home to itself. When you grasp this, your entire perception of life is transformed. Your life is no longer a random series of events to be endured, or a test to be passed. Your life is revealed to be a perfectly designed alchemical laboratory, created for the sole purpose of facilitating your great work. Every challenge, every failure, every heartbreak, every person who pushes your buttons, these are not cosmic mistakes or punishments. They are alchemical ingredients, deliberately placed in your path. They are the base metals you are given to practice the art of transmutation. They are the friction required to polish the mirror of your soul, so it can reflect its own divinity. The universe is not happening to you, it is happening for you. It is constantly providing you with the exact curriculum you need to evolve, to awaken, and to remember who you truly are. There is a beautiful story of a master sculptor who was asked how he managed to create a breathtaking statue of an angel from a rough, shapeless block of marble. He replied, simply, "The angel was in the stone the whole time. I just chipped away everything that wasn't the angel." This is the most perfect metaphor for the great work. You're perfected, divine, golden, self the angelus, already fully present within you. It is not something you need to build, to earn, or to become. It is your essential nature. Your fears, your limiting beliefs, your egoic attachments, and your unhealed shadow are the excess stone that hides this masterpiece from view. The 7 Hermetic principles are your chisels. The events and challenges of your life are the taps of the mallet on those chisels. The great work is not a process of addition, but of subtraction. It is the courageous, patient, and loving act of chipping away everything that is not your true self, until the radiant being within is finally revealed in all its glory. This journey brings us to the final and most profound understanding of our master key. As above, so below. We first understood it as a correspondence between the cosmos and our lives. We then saw it as the mirror between our inner and outer worlds. We then applied it to the link between our conscious and subconscious minds. But its ultimate meaning is the dissolution of the very distinction between the two. The great work culminates in the supreme realization that the separation between above and below was an illusion all along. Imagine a single drop of water in the middle of the ocean. For a time, it has the experience of being a drop. It feels itself to be a separate entity, tossed about by the vast currents, a tiny thing at the mercy of a great power. Its journey is one of learning the laws of the ocean, its tides, its rhythms, its nature. But the ultimate enlightenment, the final alchemical transmutation, occurs in the moment the drop realizes that it is not just in the ocean, it is the ocean. It is made of the exact same substance. Its consciousness is the ocean's consciousness, merely experiencing itself from that unique, temporary perspective. The drop and the ocean are one. This is the final truth. You, the below, are not merely a child of or a reflection of the all, the great above. You are the all, experiencing reality through your unique human lens. Your consciousness is not separate from God's consciousness. It is a focal point of it. Your personal journey of awakening is the universe's own journey of self-discovery. The great work is the universe itself, becoming conscious of its own divinity, one soul at a time. Reaching this understanding does not mean that challenges cease. It means that you now engage with them from an entirely new plane of being. You no longer see them as personal attacks from a hostile world, but as a divine play, a cosmic dance, an opportunity to further practice the art of alchemy and reveal more of the gold within. You have been given the map, the tools, and the revelation of the ultimate destination. The journey is now yours to walk, every single moment of every single day. The great work has begun. We have now reached the summit of our mountain of knowledge. We have explored the 7 great laws of the universe, from the intimate workings of our own minds to the ultimate purpose of the cosmos. Our journey through the body of this ancient wisdom is now complete. All that remains is to take a moment to look back at the path we have traveled, and to gather the most precious insights for the ongoing journey of our lives. We have reached the summit of a great mountain of wisdom. Our journey together began in a place of quiet wonder and confusion, standing under a vast, silent cosmos, feeling the profound disconnect between the perfect order of the stars above and the often chaotic reality of our lives below. We sought an answer, a key, and we found it in the whispers of ancient Egypt, in the legend of a single, glowing emerald tablet bearing the master axiom of all reality. As above, so below. From that single key, we unlocked a sequence of 7 doors, the 7 great principles that govern all of existence. We learned that the universe is not a dead machine, but a great and infinite mind. We saw its perfect, fractal structure in the law of correspondence. We felt its ceaseless, energetic pulse in the law of vibration. We were given the power to transmute our reality by understanding the law of polarity, and the wisdom to navigate life's inevitable ups and downs through the law of rhythm. We shed the chains of victimhood by embracing the law of cause and effect, and we understood the sacred dance of creation through the law of gender. This journey led us inward, to face our own shadow and to reclaim our power as the conscious creators of our own experience, understanding that the purpose of it all is the soul's ultimate evolution. The great work. And now, as we stand here at the end of our exploration, it is time to distill this vast ocean of knowledge into its purest, most essential truth. It is this: the Emerald Tablet, the 7 principles. This entire body of ancient wisdom. It is not the treasure. It is the map. And the map is not meant to be worshipped. It is meant to be used. The most profound secret of all is that the map is not pointing to a hidden treasure chest buried in some distant land. It is pointing directly back at you. The power was never in a tablet of stone. It has always been within the temple of your own being. The ultimate meaning of "as above, so below" is that there is no separation. You are the microcosm that contains the entire macrocosm. You are the drop of water that is, in its essence, the entire ocean. The laws of the universe are not external forces acting upon you. They are the very laws of your own consciousness. Peace is not a destination you must struggle to reach. It is an inner state you can choose to generate. Power is not something you must acquire from the outside. It is the inherent nature of your own focused awareness, waiting to be realized and directed. Do not let this journey be a mere intellectual exercise. Let it be a call to action. You are the alchemist. Your mind is your laboratory. Your life, with all its joys and all its challenges, is the base metal you have been given to work with. Your own consciousness, your focused awareness, is the philosopher's stone, the divine catalyst capable of turning any experience, any circumstance, any piece of lead, into the shining gold of wisdom and empowerment. The listening is complete. The great work of living now begins. Step into your laboratory. Choose your thoughts with the precision of a master craftsman. Infuse your days with the sacredness of ritual. See the world as your mirror, and love what it shows you. Take command of your ship. Begin the great work now, for as above, so below, as within, so without. The universe awaits your command.